Newsdesk Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, this week we are focusing on the story of the week, that is, of course, the happenings in the Congress party. The 23 congressmen that have written the letter are now waiting for the RSVP, but I think there are no RSVPs in the Congress. In fact, while the letter writers themselves are not speaking, we've heard from the official Congress line, which is that the matter has been dealt with. But has it really been dealt with? Because some of the issues that have been raised include the fact that they want a participatory leadership. They claim that despite all that is being leaked out to the media, we've never said that we don't want a non-Gandhi as the party president. We just want a full-time party president, someone who is there, accessible, and also a more participatory leadership, which is why they brought in parliamentary board, elections to the working committee, etc., etc. But the AICC resolution, but after that we were told that yes, there will be elections. Whoever wants to participate can participate, and this will happen within 6 months. Now, this was told to us in the party briefing. However, if you look at the AICC resolution, this nowhere gives us a time frame as to when these elections will be held. And also, will they be held completed within 6 months, or will the process start within 6 months? There is also a view that Rahul still is not yet ready. He wants to wait till just about on the eve of 2024 and not any time earlier to take charge. So with all these rumors doing the rounds, was this just a storm in a teacup? Has anything been achieved at all? And what is going to be the fate of the letter writers? Because even as we speak, what has happened today is midweek to 3-4 days after the letter has been written, we know that, for instance, Jitin Prasad, one of the letter writers, there's been an uprising in his constituency. The district president has, asked his workers to say Jitin Prasad Jinda Murdabad, and also issued a letter asking him to resign. This is contrary to Sonia's stand, saying that all the letter writers or everything is forgiven and forgotten. But we all know that these things are never forgiven or forgotten either. I mean, ask Pranab Mukherjee for one. So let's try and figure out what is the road ahead for the letter writers and also for the Congress party. Has this just been a storm in a teacup, or is there going to be more to happen? If nothing happens, we are told that more people may sign, or will the Congress divide and rule? Joining me to figure out what's happening is a group of experts, Congress watchers, people who know what is happening, who've been talking around, and analysts also. I have Veer Sanghvi, former editor, columnist, and familiar face TV commentator and TV anchor. Rashid Kidwai, he's the author of 24 Akbar Road and familiar with all things inside Congress. Aarti Jairaj, she's a columnist, commentator, and a senior journalist. And Sanjay Jha, who is still remains suspended Congress leader. Though, Sanjay, there have been a lot of suspensions are being revoked. So do we see that happening anytime soon with you?
Well, I'm suspended from a tall tree by a very thin thread. So it's a very fragile existence for me at the moment. But yes, I do believe that now the most powerful group in the world is not the G20, is G23. And whoever coined this outstanding brand, we kind of are very humbly grateful for that. But Priya, truth be said, that letter, which a lot of people called as a letter bomb, frankly speaking, articulates very constructive feedback for the Congress party to resurrect itself. In fact, as you rightly mentioned in your introduction, there is no attempt to try and make it a personality-centric problem. We have said, well, if one of the Gandhis wants to contest an election and win it, fair enough. I mean, nobody's going to object to a transparent internal democracy. But the fact is that when the Gandhis themselves, Rahul Gandhi has publicly said he's not coming back. He also said, I don't want a Gandhi family member to become a president. 1 year ago, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra endorsed
repeat that I'm not coming back in the last CWC meeting, to be fair to him. He said it last year. Now I think he is ready to come back. Timing depends.
Well, to a couple of reporters who asked him this during the lockdown, he said there is no intention of me to change what I had earlier mentioned. So I do believe that, this speculation needs to come to an end. The grand old party has a phenomenal history. It has governed this country for 55 of the 70 years. It's won 10 of the 17 general Lok Sabha elections. We have a role to play. And the fact that, we are up against a very authoritarian juggernaut of Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah, which everybody knows is probably the most brilliant election machine, the most formidable political rival any Congress has faced in its entire history. Yeah. Therefore, we need to be energetic, renewed, reinvigorated for a fight. And the suggestions given cannot be contradicted by anybody. So one last line. Nobody in the CWC could challenge the content of the letter. All they could do was to attack those who were present in the Congress Working Committee.
One quick question which I really wanted to ask you is, Sanjay, what is happening since then? You're in touch with the 23. Are they going to start talking to allies? Are they going to reach out to a Sharad Pawar, or are they going to wait and watch? Are the other 100, 200 names going to come out?
Well, Priya, let me tell you this. I tweeted on the next day, this is only the end of the beginning. If anybody believes that this was just an exercise, a cosmetic, program to create some kind of a buzz within, I'm sorry, that's not the case. This time, the Congress will see a perceptible metamorphosis, because without that, we have a serious existential crisis, and we'll fight for it till actually those recommendations are executed.
You see this happening. These are all very tall words. You've seen, the rebellions in the Congress don't really, go too far. It all comes back to status quo, as is what is happening right now also.
I actually don't agree with the view, Priya, that there are revolts in the Congress and nothing happens, it's back to status quo. In fact, the history of the Congress since the 1960s is of revolts that lead to something. Mrs. Gandhi split the party in 1969. She recast it in her own image. In 77, 78, when the Congress was in opposition, there were several significant revolts, one of which was Mrs. Gandhi's own revolt after the party had marginalized her, which led to the creation of the Congress I, as it was then called, which is what this Congress should be called to. There was another revolt when Narasimha Rao was Prime Minister, which led to Arjun Singh and various people leaving the party. That revolt then came to fruition when Narasimha Rao lost power and they threw him out as Congress president. There was yet another revolt against Sitaram Kesri, who they threw out as Congress president. There was the revolt against Sonia Gandhi, which led to the formation of Sharad Pawar's Congress. So to say that there are revolts and nothing happens is not true. There are revolts and often things happen. The Congress splits, new parties are created. What do these revolts have in common? Well, on the whole, there are exceptions, of course, Mrs. Gandhi being one. On the whole, they happen when the Congress is in opposition. The Congress is a party that thrives on power. Power is the electricity that keeps the Congress going. When the Congress is in opposition, it doesn't quite know what to do, which is why the issues that these letter writers have raised, all of which I agree with Sanjay are valid, also are being interpreted on television as demands for inner party democracy and alternative to dynasty. I'm not sure that the letter writers ever mean this. There has been no inner party democracy in any serious Indian political party for a long time. If Mr. Narendra Modi were to ask somebody in the BJP to jump, he would say, how high? If Amit Shah were to say, I need this done, they would say, yes, master. It's pretty much the same in every party. So to single out the Congress for lack of democracy, I think is a mistake. The Congress has never had democracy, nor have most parties. Similarly, the objections to dynasty. Sonia Gandhi ran the party for 15 years. There was no objection to dynasty. Rahul Gandhi was made Congress president mainly because he was Sonia Gandhi's son. There was no objection to dynasty. Priyanka Gandhi joined politics mainly because she was Sonia Gandhi's daughter. There was no objection to dynasty. So that's not what all this is about. This is about where the Congress is headed, A, and B, more importantly, what role do these people have in that direction? I think many people fear that the Congress will not go anywhere because Rahul Gandhi is running it very badly. There is no clear direction. They feel also that Rahul Gandhi will create a new Congress, perhaps like Sanjay Gandhi wanted to do, in which all the people who were close to his mother or who believed in what were described as old Congress values have no place. So that is what this is about. It's a fight to the finish for one kind of Congress versus Rahul's idea of, which we don't really know much about, of his kind of Congress.
Nicely put, Veer. So, Rashid, it's that's as far as the Congress is concerned. Individually, now just tell me, as far as these 23 are concerned, you've written a lot about Ghulam Nabi Azad, for instance, the fate of him. This is his last attempt at staying relevant, as you said, I think. So, what is going to happen to these 23? Some of them be lured away? If so, which ones will be lured away? Which ones will be enticed? Or will they stay strong and bonded?
I think that is going to be very fascinating, period and saga. As you can see, it's going to be a long drawn thing. And we are going to see different people. At present, effort is on to wean away some of these, people from this 23. I think Sanjay probably is right that the list is longer, but the Congress of establishment would want many of them to return home. And I don't see, great future for this 23 within the Congress. Congress in the sense the Congress led by Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi. See, issue is not about personality or about the issues that are mentioned in the letter. It's about, the political leadership. Basically, these people, in other words, have expressed their lack of confidence or no confidence in the political leadership of Gandhis. That is a significant part of it. Now, as long as Gandhis are there, I don't see these 23, becoming part of it, unless they, of course, regret and retreat and all that. If that doesn't happen, it's going to, lead to some kind of confrontation. As you said, there's going to be, legal battle, political battle, all the sort of non-Congress, non-BJP political players are going to come in play sooner or later. So it's going to be a protracted and a fascinating battle.
Aarti, your take, you've been talking to the 23 also, I know. So what is your feedback?
Well, they seem to be waiting and watching. They somehow seem to have the impression that Sonia Gandhi had given an assurance that she would set up a committee to look into, their whatever grievances they had laid out in their own suggestions that they had made in their letter. I don't know whether this actually happened. So they seem to be waiting for that committee to be set up. And then they hope that that will give some direction to, a resolution to the problem. But, Priya, there are several things happening at the same time. One is, of course, what these 23 leaders have talked about. And this, their concern that there is no political direction or leadership to the Congress party right now, which is just ceding space to Narendra Modi more and more. The other is what happened yesterday at the chief ministers meeting that Sonia Gandhi called, the opposition chief ministers. There was a unanimous call across the board from these chief ministers, not just of the Congress, but the other opposition parties, which urged Sonia Gandhi to create some kind of a permanent platform for all of them to, get together and fight the BJP collectively, because they fear that the BJP is destroying the federal nature of our country. And, they want the Congress to take the lead in this. Now, can Sonia Gandhi ignore that? Because I think the fears and concerns that those chief ministers raised are very, very valid. They talked about, how the BJP is trying to, force this RSS agenda down everybody's throat, this creation of a uniform culture, like one India, one culture, one kind of, one thing. So, there is this pressure that is coming from all these other parties, and many of them are allies of the Congress. For instance, the Shiv Sena in Maharashtra, the sort of Hemant Soren in Jharkhand. So, can the Congress just ignore what the allies are saying? Can Sonia Gandhi just ignore what they're saying? Because they are saying pretty much the same thing that these 23 leaders have said, that there needs to be some leadership, some political direction. So how long is she going to go on ignoring it? I mean, yes, if she's so blinded by her ambition to make her son the next Congress president, then I'm afraid, the Congress is really heading for, I don't know what, maybe a split, or I don't know which direction it will go in, because, if there's really, how much is left of the Congress? We talked about all those splits, the history of splits in the Congress. But the Congress was a very strong party at that time. It had, even in 1978, when it split, it had 156 MPs in the Lok Sabha. What does it have today? 52. So, I mean, if Sonia Gandhi ignores all these, concerns that are being voiced, I'm afraid she, could really be sending the party down into some dark abyss, and I don't know how it will come out.
Sanjay, before we go on to the implications, a little bit more, what is happening? Because, I'm speaking to these 23, they are saying that, if you read our letter, we've never said non-Gandhi. So why don't they make the letter public and let everybody read it? Are they still hoping to be incorporated? Secondly, they are saying we didn't leak the letter. So if they didn't leak the letter, then who do you think leaked this letter? And thirdly, this is what I've been told is the working committee, as it was going on, we know we were getting live updates. Now I've been told there was someone from the Congress media cell actually in charge of, told to leak the happenings. And he's the one who goofed up on that BJP comment, which is why Rahul then called up Sybil and said, I didn't make it. So, how do you see the other side behaving or reacting to the letter?
Well, clearly, a number of leaders in the Congress party are rattled. One is that when you see the writing on the wall, it is pretty prudent to read it. If you choose to wear blinkers or wear glares and look the other side, facts don't cease to exist because we ignore them. The Congress party, by the way, everyone who was brought in there, and there are only around 30 extra people were there during the Congress Working Committee meeting as special invitees and blah, blah.
If 4 letter writers.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a disproportionate demonstration of strength. And the fact is that no one could actually contradict what was mentioned in the letter, because let me tell you, in their conscience, everyone knows that the Congress party needs to resurrect itself. Otherwise, it is definitely facing not a gradual, but it could face a very abrupt decimation. I believe in politics, the last thing that you take for granted is the fact that you will exist, even if you are purposeless, because of some historical trend. I'm sorry, that is no longer a truism in Indian politics. It's been changed by Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah. So the fact of the matter, Priya, is that the leak of that letter, clearly somebody passed on the redacted version of the letter to the Indian Express. I think this is something that the Congress party needs to explain, because an attempt is being made to paint the 23 people as traitors to the larger Congress party cause. I want to make a point on your channel that Kumari Selja, who is very close to the powerful high command of the Congress party, publicly stated that the 23 signatories are BJP stooges. She has not been asked to retract that statement. Nobody's, by the way, asked her to even apologize. And this is happening at a time when we have not held a single Chintan Baitak to find out why have we lost 2 Lok Sabha elections to the BJP? Why have we drifted in several states after 2014? Why do many people believe that the Congress party has an ideological obfuscation it can't explain itself for? After 2019, Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh have been handed over in a golden platter to the BJP. Rajasthan, almost.
See, all that is there.
I mean, is there a sense of panic? I mean, at this point of time, I can tell you from my political experience, I would have pressed the panic button in 2014, and by now the Congress party should have met 22 times and taken stock and created a strategy to fight back. Losing is okay in a parliamentary democracy. Not fighting back, that is a cardinal sin.
Not fighting back. So, Veer, what do you think these 23 will do? Will they just give up, or you name some rebellions that have come to fruition? Does any of them, can you see any of these leading that rebellion, leading the faction? So far, we are told is Anand Sharma, Ghulam Nabi Azad, to an extent Manish Tiwari. Will they be able to galvanize the same kind of clout that the other, even an Arjun Singh could?
There are like 2 kinds of revolts in the Congress. There are revolts like the one Indira Gandhi led against the syndicate, or the one Sharad Pawar led against Mrs. Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, and the one we forget, the one Mamata Banerjee led against Kesari and Narasimha Rao. The difference between those revolts, which succeeded in a limited way, is that if you have a regional base of your own, and the party tells you to go to hell, which it did in the case of Mamata Banerjee and Sharad Pawar, you can survive with some kind of regional party. If you're a great charismatic leader, as Indira Gandhi was, then you don't need the organization. You can go ahead. Now, when I look at the list of these 23, who are all great congressmen, loyalists, many of them would have difficulty winning a Lok Sabha election. None of them can form a regional party. So their best hope is not to sort of continue revolting, but is to hope that good sense will prevail in the Congress. It's absurd to say that someone like Ghulam Nabi Azad is against the Gandhis. He spent his life working with the Gandhis. These are not unreasonable people. They don't really want to break away. They've essentially been driven to this by a sense that the Congress is heading in the wrong direction and that nobody is listening to them. That the new leader of the Congress, who claims he's not the leader, Rahul Gandhi, is actually following the wrong path and not consulting enough. Now, there are 2 ways this can go, the Indira Gandhi way or another way. Similar complaints were made about Sanjay Gandhi, and people who'd been very close to Indira Gandhi for years believed that she would intervene and good sense would prevail. She did not. P.N. Hatsar, who'd been her main advisor, was thrown out. His family were humiliated, and there were many such horror stories. Or will Sonia Gandhi do something different? My sense, my instinct, and I could be wrong, is that Sonia Gandhi is not Indira Gandhi. She is a consensual leader. She will, of course, fight to put down any dissent. She will fight to protect her son. But she cares enough about the Congress not to want it to split. There will be some attempt to reach out. It may be informal, it may be phone calls, it may be meetings. But I imagine she will act to bring these people back on board.
If she doesn't bring these people back on board and doesn't act, A, Rashid, how long do you think they're going to wait? And B, you wrote in one of your pieces that Azad could, say, talk to Pawar or a Mamta, may not float his own party, but he may reach out to other congressmen who have left and try and form some sort of a front.
Yes, Priya, I think they are looking for, life outside Congress. And why? Because, you see, you look at their, design. Everything is very well, curated. We live in a world of, this kind of post-truth or, building a narrative. You look at this, Rahul is reluctant. Everyone talks about it. Media talks about it. This so-called this Congress people are saying it. I'm saying so-called with an intent. See, that point of view of Rahul Gandhi was relevant only between 25th of May 2019 to 9th or 10th of August 2019, when he said that I don't want my family members to be there. I don't want my family members to influence. Okay, that all evaporated the day on 10th of August. All congressmen of all UN shade, and particularly Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, because he was the first mover of Sonia Gandhi's name, to virtually begging and requesting her to take to become interim president, and that interim president continues till today. So what I'm saying is, again, this backdrop you see, so Gandhis are not wrong in sensing that what are they saying? They were saying something a year ago, something very different, and today they are packaging it well, as it happens, and as the BJP is very good at doing it. So therefore, Shailja, Sanjay was saying that Shailja is not being asked to retract and all. Many Congress people, privately and also to say in heart of the heart, they think, inke dil mein kamal ka phool khil gaya hai. I don't know how many of them will go to BJP, but there is some kind of tacit or otherwise, there is some kind of understanding. It may be, rather uncharitable, but that's how, politics is, because politics doesn't exist in vacuum. After all, who benefits if Congress disintegrates? Again, the whole issue boils down to political leadership. If there was an alternative, like it happened in case of Mr. Lalkrishna Advani, everyone was fiercely loyal to Lalkrishna Advani till 2011 or so, when this talk of Narendra Modi started, that you have documented it, and suddenly Mr. Advani is without friends. The moment Congress has an alternative, okay, nobody will stand by Gandhis. This is very clear. But as of today, there is no alternative. You look at just one thing from my side. See, now we are going to have elections in Bihar, Bengal, Assam. How many of these 23 or any one of them can influence or play any kind of role in election campaign in all these coming states? This has been a problem. After Gandhi's, the most sought after person as a campaigner is Mr. Navjit Sidhu. Okay, yeah, Imran Pratapgarhi, Nagma Murarji. I can go on. These are the people who are sought after. To some extent, even Raj Babbar. Earlier it was Govinda, Rajesh Khanna. So this is a real problem. These 23 need to introspect why they are not ever sought, including Dr. Manmohan Singh. 2004 elections, when he became Prime Minister, he did not campaign in a single constituency. And I'm saying with a sense of responsibility.
Okay. I think Sanjay quickly wants to come in, then I want to bring Aarti in. Sanjay, you have a name?
Rashid may have scored a self-goal there. By that logic, Rashid, the Gandhis have no political capital at all, right? If you look at the results of the 2014 Lok Sabha with 44 seats and 52 seats in 2019. Well, the point is, in that case...
That means Atal Bihari Vajpayee... No, please...
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Also respond to you. Please have a heart. I'm not from Congress. I'm just commenting upon it. I am saying, you see, the BJP got 2 seats for the first time when it contested an election in 1984. It got just 2 seats. By that yardstick, Mr. Lalkrishna Advani and Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who himself lost to Madhav Sidhya, he should have gone home.
Well,
electoral defeat is not a criteria. That is where I am saying you are armchair politician. Go and fight an election, and then you'll know what it means to even get 10,000 votes.
Okay.
Priya, with your permission, Actually, Rashid contradicts himself. He's more Congressy than many other people I've seen. But the truth of life is very straightforward.
I don't mind it.
Can I finish, Rashid? Going by your logic, you are actually saying that the Gandhis have become a political liability electorally for the Congress. So, in fact, I think you will upset many people in the Congress. The second point, which is very relevant, is I don't think you are aware, with due respects to your insider access within the party, I don't think you are aware of the kind of political heft many of these leaders have. The truth is, and Priya,
electoral heft.
no, I'm talking about electoral. I'm talking about electoral heft. Let me give you one example. Rashid, jara bolne dijiye bhaiya.
Let's hear the example.
Let's take the example of Mr. Huda. There was an attempt to actually not give him a chance, Mr. Kedwai. Mr. Huda, in a limited space of a few weeks, almost won us Haryana. Had he been given 2 more weeks, we were having an absolute majority in Haryana. So please stop making these sweeping generalizations. The truth is,
out of 23, Sanjay. He's still,
let me tell you, Priya, he's not aware. Advice, Saab, you're not aware of the 300 names, number one. Number two, let me also tell you the actual brand of many of these leaders and where they get called for. There is also something called as public capital. Please don't ignore it. You always believe, this whole talk that if you haven't won an election, you're an armchair politician. Kedwai Sahab, aapko main batana chahunga. Some of us have chosen not to be in electoral politics because we can't handle cash, money and muscle. We don't want to do it. That's why. So please do not sit and make these judgments.
Okay, I'll bring in Aarti before this thing ends. But at the end of the day, he does have a point because you need electoral heft guys to win elections at the end of the day.
Well, you think Manish Tiwari doesn't have political heft? I mean, come on.
Yeah, but listen, so can I? I mean, they're talking about electoral heft. I mean, Rahul Gandhi lost a family seat which his sister was nursing for him and she was campaigning. So, I mean, does Rahul Gandhi have electoral heft? Honestly, I don't think that's the issue here. And
that Bajpayee also lost from Gwalior.
Okay, let's get to the end. We're totally out of time, so let Aarti have the...
Let us also speak, Rashid, please. Yeah. What I want to say is that, look, Narendra Modi is here to rule for another 4 years. He's at the beginning of his tenure, all right? Over the next 4 years, the Congress party has to cooperate with other opposition parties in parliament, outside parliament, to confront the Modi government on a host of issues. I do not see a Rahul Gandhi or a Priyanka Gandhi being able to lead that collaborative effort. They have no parliamentary experience. Even Rahul Gandhi, although he's been in parliament now for, this is his 3rd term, but he does not have the kind of parliamentary experience that, say, a Ghulam Nabi Azad or an Anand Sharma or a Kapil Sibal or a Manish. Or a Manish Tiwari or a Shashi Tharoor or any of them have. I don't think he even knows the rules and regulations of parliament, discussions and debates. So, I think it is really important right now. And and this is what I hope Sonia Gandhi will understand and realize, that she can't afford to dump these people or have them break away or have them marginalized, at least for the next 4 years, when they have to fight the BJP and stop the BJP from just overwhelming every other party in the country. This is, I think, a realization, and this is, I think, what these opposition chief ministers were trying to tell her yesterday. So I hope she's getting the message, not just from these people, but from outside the party also. So now let's see what she does.
Which is why we had the last word to you. I think we all agree that Rahul is not really cutting it despite whatever happens. So you think the best bet for the Congress is for Sonia to continue in this interim arrangements for as long as she can? Is she the best bet still?
She's the best bet in the short run, but I don't think she is a long-term solution. The Congress's problems at the moment are not short-term or medium-term. The Congress's problems are long-term. At the moment, Sonia can act as a great unifier. I really don't think these 23, despite what everyone says, really have any illusions that they can form a party and sweep the country. Individual people like Hooda will do well because they're regional leaders, the point I made earlier. Others will have a problem. And what they're asking for is not unreasonable. They're asking for democratic leadership, which may sound hollow in the Congress context, but you have a situation where the Congress president has resigned. And for over a year, you had no talk of naming somebody else, no talk of an election. It's a slightly crazy situation. So it's not difficult to meet their demands. It's not difficult, I think, for Sonia to bring them back. The big question is going to be Rahul. What role does he play in this? Is he willing to let things go? Sonia is a consensual figure. Rahul is his own man who always thinks he knows best. It's that divide, that dilemma that the Congress has to confront.
And the dilemma, really, we're totally out of time, is that, all roads are pointing back to Rahul, because that is the way the Congress is really structured. So what Rahul can do, even if he's keeping the top job, is at least to make sure he has a team that is participatory, that has people from all camps, and that also feels, cuts across all ages, camps, and gets everybody involved, and not restricted to just a team of guys at Tughlaq Road. That's really, because Rahul is not known to be picking up the right team at all. Either he picks up outsiders like Madhusudan Mistry, Beni Prasad Verma, etc., or he banks on his group of friends at Tughlaq Road. He needs to expand himself, at least within the Congress, if not the rest of the country. But that's it from now. Thank you for watching this show. And thank you all for taking part in this. Thank you.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.